Hello everyone, so this is a video I've been wanting to do for quite a while, and I mean many years. It's probably been about, I think it's actually been over 20 years now since the Buu Saga was released to the public as anime episodes. But still to this day, people still fight over the scale in between Super Buu and Kid Buu and which one has more raw power. And even this day, there's still so many misguided people. I mean, just recently, someone was making the stupid claim that the Funimation, not even just English translation, just the Funimation dubbing of the anime knows more about the series than the Japanese version, or even the manga. Now, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that someone's trying to claim that an English American translation company knows more about Japanese manga than the Japanese manga itself. I mean, that's like saying a priest knows more about the commandments than God does. I mean, god damn. And I'm also seeing claims recently that since Kid Buu had god power, that must automatically mean he's stronger than Super Buu. Now, I'm not really going to go into details that are in Super, but you can't really make claims like that when that same god power was in each of the forms of Buu except for Good Buu, because when Fat Buu split, that god power went through the evil pathway, which includes all the Super Buus. So you can't say Kid Buu's stronger because he has this power when all the Super Buu forms had that exact same power tucked away inside of them. That mathematically doesn't add up. Anyway, so we're gonna start with this video. I'm gonna break down pretty much all the evidence of the Buu Saga series that relates to power scaling that we can. I'm going to be showing them as manga scans because, for the most part, the manga and the anime have the same script as each other. Now, with Dragon Ball Z, the anime is just an altered retelling of the DBZ manga, but it also has filler scenes included into it to extend its duration. Now, those filler scenes have scripts in them that are written by second parties that are not canon to the series. But for those, we're going to display those too, and for those, we're going to show the anime scan since it wasn't in the manga to begin with. Or if the manga just happens to vary away from the anime, we'll show what the anime displays in its place. And I think there's not many examples where the English translation really veers off from it. There's a couple, but not many. But anyway, let's get into this here. So each piece of evidence, I'm going to split it up in 3 categories, which I'll bring up here. It's going to be Super Buu, Kid Buu, and then we're going to have a category for general power scaling for other characters in the same saga. And on top of that, we're going to bring up a scale on the bottom to show a visual placement of these characters where they are in comparison to each other. Now, to start the scale off, we're going to have a base Goku, and we're going to assign him a value of 1. And then all the characters you see in this scale are going to be based off multiples of the base Goku power. Now, this scale is also going to hold to the standard Super Saiyan multipliers that we all have heard before, 50, 100, and 400, and then we'll go from there. This also gives the opportunity for us to visually see what some of the claims people make are for the characters in relation to other characters. Now, keep in mind that this is just a ballpark placement of the characters to have them nicely tucked in a neat order. Some of the characters will be implied to be at the same level as someone, or a bit above or below someone. In one situation, someone had more training since he was implied to be at that level, but for the most part, they're still around that same area of power, so therefore they're placed under the same part of the scale. Now, to begin off, we got the base Goku there, and we all know from the early Buu Saga that base Goku and Vegeta were roughly the same power as each other. So then we can also pull up Vegeta and place him under the 1, category 2, and then once we pop in the Super Saiyan multipliers, we get their Super Saiyan levels at the 50, the 100, and then we got the Super Saiyan 3 Goku at the 400 area. Alright, so let's get into the bits of evidence here. We're going to go in chronological order. Most of them are manga scans because the script for the manga is basically the same as the script for the Japanese anime. But the Japanese anime has the added scenes in it the manga doesn't have, so in those situations we will be showing the screenshots from the anime. And sometimes in some situations we'll have to show the same scene in both the anime and the manga because the Funimation alterations change the script a little bit. So let's get started here. First thing we got here is, we all know this, Fat Buu is beyond Super Saiyan 2 tier fighter. Goku needed Super Saiyan 3 to be able to even try to fight Fat Buu. And since that's a fact, and given Super Saiyan 3 is 4 times the power of Super Saiyan 2, that means that as Super Saiyan 3, Goku needs a minimum of well be above 25% his max Super Saiyan 3 power to be able to combat Fat Buu. Which doesn't leave a whole lot of room for a lot of stronger fighters than Fat Buu to be in and not be stronger than Super Saiyan 3 Goku as well. And given the next bit of information, that Super Saiyan 3 Goku had trouble withstanding the back force of Fat Buu's Kamehameha Blast, that kind of puts Fat Buu in the upper area between the gap of Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3 tier fighters. To ballpark it, probably about 3 times Super Saiyan 2 level, and that literally is just a ballpark guesstimate there. Okay, next bit of information we got is Base Gotenks, when he first formed, Piccolo was like, you are not powerful enough to be able to fight Fat Buu without Super Saiyan. He directly says you cannot beat him. They had the little gag scene where Gotenks comes back all beaten up, so given that bit, the fact that he came back alive, and that it was a gag scene, it's kind of hard to give a placement of where Base Gotenks alive, but he's definitely not above Fat Buu level power. Next thing we got here is when Super Saiyan Gotenks first appears, Piccolo's not talking about how weak he is anymore. He's saying he's not enough power. He's saying, now your power is impressive, so let's see what you can do. Now that's a complete 180 from what he was saying before, is that you're not powerful enough. Now he's sensing this new power here, and he's not saying that's not enough, he just wants to see a demonstration. And then later, when Gotenks starts to go after Fat Buu, Piccolo's only problem is that he only has a minute left before the fusion breaks. Not that he wasn't strong enough. So that there implies that Super Saiyan Gotenks is definitely above Fat Buu, and maybe even Super Saiyan 3 tier level of a fighter. And that is the pre-training. See, so next we got when Super Buu first formed, he displayed a level of power that was able to give the same feat that Goku needed Super Saiyan 3 to be able to do, that he was able to be sensed from the Kai planet. Now that alone puts a suppressed Super Buu at above a level of power of what Fat Buu displayed right then and there. So let that sink. Suppressed Super Buu is above Fat Buu in the level of power. Next shot we got there is Piccolo reacting to Super Buu's new power. Now Piccolo, if he felt Super Saiyan Gotenks wasn't enough for Fat Buu, he could have immediately tossed those kids into the time chamber the moment they came back to Lookout for well over several weeks worth of additional training on top of what they already had later on. The fact that he didn't toss them in there wasted weeks worth of training for something he felt he wasn't prepared for. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. But now we have Super Buu that formed, and Piccolo is doing a 180 saying, yeah, those kids need to get in that time chamber now or Gotenks is gonna die. It's not enough to beat this new power that showed up. And still, that's a suppressed level of power that now leaped above Super Saiyan Gotenks, which was already implied to be a Super Saiyan 3 Goku tier level of fighter. So next scan we got here, Piccolo in the time chamber reacting to Gotenks' new power, saying this is a generous bump in power, they may actually have a chance to succeed. So this shows that Gotenks, who before was maybe Super Saiyan 3 level Goku, as a Super Saiyan, now got a generous bump in power, and may actually have a chance against this new suppressed Buu level of power. And I say suppressed Buu because we all know that Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks and Super Buu were evilly fighting, which means for Piccolo to believe that this new power for Gotenks had a chance, Super Buu must have been hiding his power for them to be reading off the same level of energies. Alright, next scene here. So when Gotenks first came out of the time chamber as a Super Saiyan 3, the anime Funimation dubbing has Kai asking Goku directly, "Are these kids stronger than you now?" And to that we have Goku saying, "I can do it too," which implies that he's saying that he's at the same level of Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. Now, like I said, this is a Funimation alteration to the original script that was also in the Japanese anime as well. And to that, let me pull up the scan here. We got Goku. The original script is saying, basically, Kai did not ask Goku if he was stronger than Gotenks. He was asking if this was fusion, and to this Goku is saying it's fusion, but it's also Super Saiyan 3. Now Goku is just talking about the Super Saiyan 3 form itself and how it took him years to be able to get to that point. There was no direct relation between his strength and Gotenks' strength, just the fact that he was able to reach the same form of Super Saiyan as it. Alright, next scan we got here. In the manga we got Gohan approaching the fight to fight Super Buu, and at this, even at a suppressed power, we got Piccolo freaking out about the amount of energy that's approaching them. Now that also implies that Ultimate Gohan, at a lower level of power from his maximum, because he did power up when he fought Super Buu, was displaying energy that was beyond what Super Saiyan 3 Goku was, and causing Piccolo to freak out that this might be a new enemy, and that the boys would have to fight this. Next scan we got is when Buu first appeared. He directly says in the manga, "Witness the birth of the most powerful Majin, present, future, and past." Now Majin Buu knows his own past. He knows about Kid Buu, which we clearly see when Vegeta was about to pull the pod. He knew what was going to happen. And yet we have Buu here saying he's more powerful now than he's ever been in history. So that's saying that even he's above Kid Buu. Next, we got a scene of old Kai directly saying that even if Goku helps Gohan, they are no match against Buu without fusion. So that blatantly puts Super Saiyan 3 Goku well below Buu in level of power. And then we have Goku when he arrives on Earth. He shits his pants when he thinks Buu is about to come after them before they fuse. I mean, in the anime, we got the scene where they actually fight, even though that didn't take place in the manga. People like to point out that scene, that since they fought, Goku must be above Buu or at Buu level of power, but let's be frank here. If you really look at that scene, Goku got his ass whooped. He couldn't even keep track of Buu movements, and the only shot he did actually get in was when Buu blatantly turned his back to him at point blank to deal with Gohan in the earring. And even that shot didn't even do anything to him. Yeah, and other than that, Goku was just being kicked around easily. Alright, next we got here. In the anime, when the fusion broke inside Buu, we got Goku saying that, "You don't plan to beat me like this now, do you?" This is a Funimation alteration to the script, because in the Japanese manga and in the Japanese anime, we got Goku instead saying that it's Gohan that can deal with Super Buu now, not himself. And we have Goku powering down to let Gohan take over the fight. Now, why would Goku say Super Buu doesn't plan to beat him like that, and then he lowers his form down to base? Clearly, he wasn't going to fight him in base form. So yeah, it was obvious he wanted Gohan to take over the fight for him, not himself. Next we got here, inside the body of Buu, we got Goku directly telling Vegeta that even with two of them working together, without fusion, base Super Buu would just outright kill both of them. So that's Goku right there directly saying that base Super Buu is stronger than himself, even with Vegeta helping him, and that they need fusion or they're gonna die. And in the next scene, we got Super Buu appear in his own head. Goku blabs his mouth that they can't fuse, and then Super Buu loses all worry and is about ready to fight them because they can't fuse, because he knows they don't stand a chance without fusion. Alright, next scene we got here, Vegeta's about to pull the pod, and Super Buu's panicking, saying, "Don't do that, I won't be myself anymore." Now this is only loosely valuable, if it has any value whatsoever, because it's a context thing. Now why would Super Buu care about becoming Kid Buu? Some people say he doesn't want to lose his sanity, but come on, do you really think Super Buu strikes you as someone that cares about his sanity? If it would give him more power? It's more likely that he's panicking because he's going to lose his sanity and he's going to drop in power, which he wants his power. He's been someone that's been fighting for more power for a while. Alright, next we got here, we all know Buff Buu is above Super Buu. When Buu was buffing out, his power was increasing. Goku and Vegeta are like basically pissing their pants looking at him like, why is his power growing instead of decreasing? And then in the next scene here, we got them saying, let's fight Kid Buu. I want to fight him first. Then they're bickering who gets to fight Kid Buu solo. Now, Goku and Vegeta aren't dumb. They base off power. They sensed the power Super Buu had, and they knew they were going to die if they tried to fight base Super Buu. Then they were freaking out over Buff Buu, but suddenly want to fight Kid Buu solo just because he's smaller? Now come on, if he was displaying the same level of power as Buff Buu, they would not try to fight him one-on-one just because the size are different. Vegeta already learned that one from the Cell Juniors, for crying out loud. Alright, next one. In the anime, we all know this scene. Kid Buu supporters pull it up non-stop. We got Kai saying that absorbing the Kais weakened Buu, and that the Kid Buu is the most powerful of all the forms. Now, in the manga, if you pay close attention and interpret what's directly said, it's a different story. Now here we got, it says, next to be absorbed was the chubby but gentle Great Lord of Lords. Before this, Buu was pure evil, and I mean, come on. Basically, he's saying that after the event of Fat Kai's absorption is when Buu's power was brought down and his temperament was brought under control. Old Kai even says here, he's not talking about power, he's talking about the soul he gained and that it tamed him. He's saying that Buu's personality is brought under control, and that this is the most difficult one now because he's completely out of control. So they're not talking about the power here in the end, they're talking about Buu's self-control levels, which are non-existent in the Kid Buu state. So next we got here, Super Saiyan Goku admitting that as Super Saiyan 3 he could have beat Fat Buu. That's nothing new, we all knew that. Now here we got another scene that comes from the anime. This one's a filler because it's in the Japanese anime as well, but it's not in the manga. And in this scene, Goku's saying, well, in the Funimation he's saying, you're twice as strong as you were before. Now keep in mind, he's saying this as a Super Saiyan 2. So clearly something's amiss there because it took him as Super Saiyan 3 to fight Fat Buu before. And if he was shown twice as much power as Super Buu, then he wouldn't be capable of fighting him as a Super Saiyan 2. Let's put it that way. And it's also to be implied that he's talking about his fight with Fat Buu, not Super Buu. Now, in the Japanese anime version of it, though, Goku's directly saying he's far above any of the other Buus they fought so far, which, again, he's saying that when he's fighting them as a Super Saiyan 2, which doesn't add up, and bodes to why second-party alterations to the original content can't really be considered canon. Let's see. Next scene, we got Vegeta directly saying that he underestimated Buu and that he's stronger than he imagined, which people like to use to support Kid Buu. But here in the same frame, we also have Vegeta saying that so is Goku. So not only is Vegeta putting Kid Buu higher up on the scale than he thought he was, he's also putting Goku right there as well, and also saying that at full power, Goku should be able to obliterate him. Now, in the anime, we got Goku saying that he was letting the fight drag on so Vegeta can fight. But in the manga, he was saying that Goku has been trying to defeat Fat Buu, but he hasn't had the chance yet. Basically, Goku's saying that Kid Buu was all over him, and he hasn't had the chance to build up his energy to actually pull off an attack strong enough to defeat Kid Buu. Which then plays into why Goku needs a minute to bring up his power to charge up the attack needed to win the fight. And at this, Goku is still so sure that he can fight Kid Buu and beat him that he's letting Vegeta risk his very existence to buy him the time needed to actually pull it off. So yes, Kid Buu is a bit stronger than they realize it, but Goku is so sure that Kid Buu is still at his level of power that he can beat him that he's like, go ahead Vegeta, go buy me time and just don't die because you won't exist anymore. I mean, if Goku wasn't sure that he can pull it off, do you really think he would let Vegeta do something that risky? And this is after he's like directly saying, no, Super Buu is beyond my realm of power. See, next scene we got here. In the anime and the manga, after Goku loses his power, he's very pleased at the thought of having Gohan and the kids come and fight Kid Buu in his place. I mean, that should say right there that Gohan and the kids are above him in power if he's pleased at the thought of them coming here to fight in his place. And finally, the last scan we got here is when the Spirit Bomb was at Kid Buu and Kid Buu was holding it in place. He never pushed it back in the manga, he just held it in place. Vegeta is directly saying it's not that the Spirit Bomb doesn't have the power to defeat Kid Buu, it's that Goku didn't have enough power left to unleash it. Basically, Goku didn't have the strength to throw it strong enough to actually detonate with Kid Buu, and that's why Kid Buu was able to hold it in place, is because Goku basically floated the bomb at him rather than throw it at him. Now, the whole Spirit Bomb argument is a bit of a complicated one. I mean, Spirit Bomb is also known as the Genki Dama. Genki is only one portion of what makes raw power in a fighter. And people like to say that the Spirit Bomb had the combined power of everyone. No, it was just the combined Genki energy of everyone. In terms of power, it was not using everyone's complete raw power. And we see that when Gohan and the kids give up the energy. I mean, the kids were still in their base form and not even fused. If it used actual full ki energy, the kids would have been fused in Super Saiyan 3 to be able to provide thousands of times of more amount of power than they would as separate base form children. And if the kids aren't in their powered up state, then it's highly likely that Gohan is not in his powered up state either. And not only that, but after they gave up that power, we see Gohan and the kids flying around the planet, so obviously they didn't give up all their energy. After it was all done, what did they need in the end? Goku got his power back and was able to push the bomb. The bomb itself wasn't given more energy from people. It was Goku having the power to actually push it and detonate the bomb. So the whole Spirit Bomb argument in favor of Kid Buu really is a moot point, because there's no reason to say that Super Buu wouldn't have been able to do the exact same thing that Kid Buu did, or even better than Kid Buu did. So here we are in the end here of the scans, and what do we got? Basically, everything's piled up. Well, we got a lot of miscellaneous stuff in scaling that we'll go through in a bit, but basically all the evidence is piled up in Super Buu's column. The only thing we got in Kid Buu's column is a couple of Funimation alterations of the anime. Nothing from the original content. That alone should tell you that Super Buu is more raw power than Kid Buu. Okay, now on to the scaling that we got here. Let's plug in some figures here based on the evidence that was shown and put it into the box. So let's start with Fat Buu. He was shown to be in the upper area between the gap between Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3. So for that I placed him at roughly 3 times Super Saiyan 2 rather than 4 times to be at Super Saiyan 3. So we'll put him at the 300 mark compared to base Goku. Next, we'll do Super Saiyan Gotenks. Pre-training was basically implied to be a Super Saiyan 3 level fighter, and even if he wasn't at that point, he had the additional training, which obviously bumped him up generously. So for that, we can place him in the Super Saiyan 3 area level of power as well. And from that, divide by 50, and we can place his base power roughly between Super Saiyan 2 Goku and Vegeta. Now if you think about it, given the multipliers, the only thing really needed for Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks to be stronger than Super Saiyan 3 Goku is for base Gotenks to be more than 8 times the power of base Goku. That's it. That's like all you need there, and that's not really asking for a lot given how we see Gotenks when he first appeared. Alright, so we got Super Saiyan Gotenks, so with that, from Super Saiyan to Super Saiyan 3 is 8 times, so place Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks right there, which is a bit of a gap, but again, those are the multipliers. And we know Super Buu and Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks were roughly equal to each other, so we place them there. Super Buu absorbed Gotenks, add in his power to his own, so we get Buu-Tank's power there. Gohan we know was between Super Buu and Gotenks, so roughly we give him like 75% power over Super Buu to be a bit below Buu-Tank's, and we can place Gohan there. Buff Buu is a bit of a mystery. We never know exactly how much his power increased before he dropped down to Kid Buu. So he has wiggle room, but I just tucked in a spot for him right over there. He can really be anywhere on that scale above Super Buu, and I like to say he's below Buu-Tank's, but maybe he was. We never know. And then for Buuhan, we got base Super Buu power plus Gohan power to place him there. Now we're just missing Kid Buu, which brings us back to the fact that Goku was so certain that he had the power capacity to destroy Kid Buu, that must put Kid Buu at best in the same range as his level of power. So Kid Buu gets placed there. There's really not much more to it than that. So hopefully this video brought up some points that you guys didn't think about before, and maybe it changed the mind of some non-believers, but probably not. I mean, again, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but personally, Kid Buu is my favorite character of DBZ. Even in Super, Kid Buu still remains my favorite. I love his insanity, his chaos. He just has thrills with the fight, and there's just... what can I say? He's my favorite. But it doesn't mean that since he's my favorite, I gotta place him as the highest character of the series. That just That's just not how it works. That's where fanboys come in, and nah, I tend to go for logic over fandom. But anyway, thanks for your time. See you guys later.